Hello learners, welcome to NR Studio. This is live eVidya program for Science and Technology, secondary course of NIOS. I am William Gupta, course coordinator of Environmental Science. Welcome you all in this program. Learners, in our previous program we have discussed air and water. This is lesson number 26. So during that program we have discussed about what is air and its components and the amount found, the percentage in the form of percentage, and importance and utility of various component of air, that is carbon dioxide, nitrogen and oxygen, and we also discuss and relative humidity and brief account of air pressure and its use to us. So we share information related to various pollutants of air, also its consequences and how can we control these pollutants. So like air, another is topic is water, and water is another abiotic component of the environment and which is also essential for all living beings. So water is the most abundant and renewable resource, natural resource, and it covers about 3/4 or 2/3 of the earth's surface, and water occurs in nature in the free state as well as in the combined state, and different properties of water make it useful and is essential for our daily life. So now we will talk about sources and properties. So we know 2/3 of the earth's surface is covered with water in the form of sea, lake, river, pond, glaciers and many other things, and it is also found inside the earth's crust, and most of the water we get from the wells comes from this source. And natural sources of water are rain, springs, wells, river and seas and oceans. So first we talk about rainwater is a precious source, and rainwater is considered as a purest form of natural water, free from all impurities. Water from sea and river get evaporated into water vapor by the heat of sun. So during this process of evaporation, impurities are left behind, and when the water vapors goes up high in the air, they condense to form clouds, and the drops comes down as in the form of rain. Second type source is spring water, and it is formed by percolation of rainwater into the soil, and springs supply water to wells and lakes. Well water, when rainwater seeps through the soil and goes down, it and is stored over the rocks on hard earth crust. So when digging the well, this underground water becomes available to us, and this is known as well water. So this water, well water, may not be pure or may contain impurities like suspended particles, bacteria and other microorganisms, because it is an open source. Next source of water is rainwater, and this is formed by the melting of snow on the mountain and also sometimes from the rainwater. So river water is also not pure and is not fit for drinking. Sea water is the largest natural, or ocean water is the largest natural source of water, and it is source that it is also the source of sea water is source of common salt and other important chemicals too, because in ocean or sea water there are many chemicals or elements found in this sea water, and it is the most impure form of the water. So all the impurities dissolved in rainwater, river water, are carried into the sea. As such, sea water cannot be used for drinking purpose because of why? The reason is high salinity and impurity. And on the basis of treatment of water, it can be potable and non-potable. Potable means safe drinking water, and non-potable is unsafe drinking water or unsafe for drinking. So potable water means the water which is fit for drinking by humans and other animals, and it can be consumed with low risk of immediate or long term harm. Non-potable water is which is not safe for drinking. It carry many disease causing agents and high level of dissolved salts and minerals, heavy metals and suspended particles or solids. So drinking or using this non-potable water for cooking leads to illness, and many may even cause death. Contaminated or non-potable water can be treated to turn it into potable or drinking water by using various methods. So, now we will discuss about very simple methods of purifying water. So, these methods can make water suitable for drinking. First, by decantation. So, insoluble impurities can be removed by this process, and decantation is the process of separation of solid from the liquid by allowing the former to settle down and pouring off the latter. Water is kept in a small vessel for some time. The suspended soluble impurities settle down at the bottom. So, clean water can now be carefully poured into another clean vessel without disturbing the settled impurities which are left behind. But this water has to be made fit for drinking through further treatment. We cannot directly consume. Second option or method is filtration. The insoluble impurities can also be removed. It is more effective method than decantation and can remove even very fine particles of insoluble impurities. We can take a piece of clean or very fine cloth, because it is a cheap and available, easily available filter. And there are some commercially available water filters or then uses candles made by the porous materials. Pure water passes through it, leaving the impurities on their outer surface. These candles must be cleaned and washed periodically to maintain their effectiveness. When water is poured through it, the insoluble impurities are stopped by the filter and clean water passes through it. Bacteria and other germs in the water get killed. Next method is boiling, and most of the people use boiling water. When boiled water is allowed to cool, heavy impurities collect at the bottom and dissolve salt, form a thin layer on the surface called scum. So, now if we filter water, it becomes safe for drinking. Another treatment or method is chlorine treatment. Small living organisms and bacteria kill. If required, treated water may be filtered to remove insoluble impurities. So, now if we filter the water, it becomes safe for drinking. So, now we talk about various properties of water. As we know, water is a common ordinary substance for daily use, and its unusual and unique properties which make it important and essential for our life. First, water acts as a universal solvent. We know water is the best and most useful solvent that we have, and it has unique property to dissolve of large number of substances starting from solids like common salt, sugar, to gases like oxygen, carbon dioxide, and indeed so many substances dissolve water. It is now called as universal solvent. This property of water is useful for plant also. Plant to take their food materials and minerals from the soil through this property. It helps us to absorb water, food that we can eat, and many chemical reactions also takes place only in the aqueous solution or aqueous medium. There are another category of water that is known as hard water and soft water. We can identify hard water and soft water by in our day-to-day life also. When water forms lather with soap, which is used for cleaning purpose, it is called soft water. When water from subsources like river or hand pumps does not produce any lather with soap, so it is called as hard water. So, water which we get from taps, certain lesser amounts of dissolved salts in it, and then water we get from hand pumps. The dissolved salts are usually bicarbonates, sulfates and chlorides of calcium and magnesium. Their presence prevents formation of soap lather, but why? There is a reason. Soap is a sodium salt called sodium stearate. It is soluble in water. When soap is added to hard water, which contains calcium and magnesium ions, a precipitate of calcium magnesium stearate is formed. So, when soap is added to hard water which contains this, so calcium and magnesium stearate, these calcium and magnesium stearate are insoluble in water and appears as a greasy scum. The formation of scum in place of lather makes it more difficult to clean things. So, we have experienced so many times when water is hard, no lather, when we soap it, no lather becomes made. There is a equation when sodium stearate and calcium sulfate react, sodium stearate or scum is formed. When soap, when we are using soap, then if water is hard, then it comes scum or no lather is formed. Accordingly, we can say water which forms lather with soap is called soft water, and water which does not form lather is called hard water. And hardness of water is due to the presence of salt of magnesium and calcium in water. In short, we define what is soft water and what is hard water. Hard water does not form lather with soap. So, can this hard water be converted into soft water? Yes, we can. So, now we move to the conversion of hard water to salt water. How can it possible? So, hard water can be converted into soft water by removal of calcium and magnesium ions which are responsible for hardness, and this is called softening of water. And hardness will be two types: temporary hardness and permanent hardness. So, first, temporary hardness is due to the presence of soluble bicarbonate of calcium and magnesium, and it is called carbonate hardness, and it can be removed by boiling or by soda lime process. By boiling, when we boil hard water, calcium and magnesium bicarbonate present in it are deposited to give magnesium of calcium carbonate, and these carbonate salts are insoluble in water and they settle down easily and water can be decanted. So, calcium bicarbonate, when we heat, calcium carbonate and water and carbon dioxide is formed. In case of magnesium bicarbonate, when we heat water, magnesium bicarbonate is soluble, and magnesium carbonate and water and carbon dioxide, magnesium carbonate is insoluble, which is settled down in the bottom. Second method is soda lime process or Clark method, is also known as Clark method. When a calculate amount of lime is added to hard water, then the soluble bicarbonate are converted into insoluble carbonate. Process is calcium bicarbonate is treated with calcium hydroxide. When we heat it, calcium carbonate or is insoluble is precipitated and water is. Same with magnesium bicarbonate and lime. When we heat it, so insoluble magnesium carbonate precipitated, calcium carbonate also precipitated and water is formed. There we are talking about temporary hardness. Now we will talk about permanent hardness. Is due to the presence of soluble chlorides and sulfates of the calcium and magnesium, and is also known as non-carbonate hardness, and it can be removed by addition of washing soda or by the ion exchange method. There are two methods: by adding washing soda or by the process of ion exchange method. So, by addition of washing soda, so when hard water is treated with the calculated quantity of washing soda or sodium carbonate. So, washing soda reacts with chloride and sulfate of calcium and magnesium to form precipitate of the calcium and magnesium carbonate. So, reaction is calcium chloride plus sodium carbonate. When we heat it, calcium carbonate or sodium chloride is formed. Magnesium, same with magnesium sulfate. When we heat it with adding sodium carbonate, magnesium carbonate and sodium sulfate, they are insoluble or precipitated. So, precipitate settle down and can be removed by decantation. Second method is ion exchange method, and for this method two types of ion exchangers can be used: inorganic ion exchanger and organic ion exchanger. In case of inorganic ion exchange process, complex compounds known as zeolite are used to soften the hard water. The salt causing hardness of water are precipitated as soluble zeolites of calcium and magnesium and are replaced by soluble sodium salts. When we obtain hard water in a large scale, so we use a tank. On the large scale, this process is carried out in tanks as shown in the figure. After using it for some time, the zeolite is regenerated by soaking it in 10% solution of sodium chloride or brine and then washing away chlorides. The washings are removed and are replaced by soluble sodium salts. So, then by using organic ion exchanger, so water is free from cations and anions and is known as deionized water or demineralized water. Now, we talk about the polar nature of water. Is a very effective solvent for ionic compound. Although water is electrically neutral molecule, but it has small positive charge on hydrogen atom and negative charge on oxygen atom. Therefore, it is polar in nature and can dissolve ionic compounds. To know the polar nature of water, there is an activity which can perform in the lab. We will just discuss this activity that proves polar nature of water. Because we have already said this is a lab activity, so fix the burette vertically in a burette stand or hold the put a clip a little above and find opening of to regulate the water flow bottle in a suitable stand. So, open the stopcock of the burette or clip of the bottle and allow the water to flow. Take a ebonite rod or ordinary straw negatively charged by rubbing one end with fur near the water. So, when we study polar nature of water, so what we require: burette, water, ebonite rod, glass rod and burette stand. And करना क्या है इसके लिए? What to do? Take a burette or bottle with a fine opening and fill it with water. And what to observe? When you see the stream of water is attracted towards negatively charged drop. Why? Because one end of the water molecule has positive charge. Similarly, now we take a glass rod or glass tumbler rubbed with fur near water which is positively charged. So, you will observe or see rod again attracts the stream of water. This indicates that one end of water molecule also has negative charge, and this proves the polar nature of water. We can see next, that is surface tension, and surface tension is a property of all liquids. Due to surface tension, water drop try to occupy a minimum surface area. Hence, water droplets always tends to take the shape of the sphere. So, tension exerted by molecules of water present on the surface layer is known as surface tension. We can also discuss for this activity what are aim to study surface tension and what is required: glass and razor blade. And how to do and what to do: take a glass full of water, put a safety razor blade gently on the surface of the water. What to observe? You will find that the blade remains on the surface of water, though it is heavier than water. So, why is it so? Upper layer of water acts like tight sheet and hold the blade. And why is it the sheet tight? Due to intermolecular forces, attractive forces become between the molecules on water surface, and there is a tension or force acting on the surface of a thin film of the liquid which behaves like a tight sheet. There is a tendency of water is to rise, and this phenomena is capillarity. When a capillary tube with a fine bore is dipped in water, water rises in the capillary. Extent to which water rises depend on the diameter of the capillary. Smaller the diameter of the capillary, higher will be rise the water in the capillary tube, and this property of rise of water inside a capillary is called capillarity or capillary action. So, this is a property by which water from the soil enters the leaves and branches of the plant through the stems. When a piece of cloth or blotting paper is placed in the water, sometimes accidentally it flow down in water, so it soaks the water by the process of capillary action. The thread strands of the cloth and cellulose of the blotting paper serve as very fine capillary for the water to rise. Now we talked about density of water. We know water behaves in an unusual way when it is heated from 0 degree centigrade. As the temperature rises from 0 degree to 4 degree, it actually contracts. However, from 4 degree upwards, it is explained like any other liquid. So, this means that water takes up at least space at 4 degree centigrade. It is the highest density at this temperature and will sink through warmer or colder water around it. Density of water is 4 degree centigrade is 1 gram per millimeter cube. Because of this property, we can explain why it takes months for a lake to freeze while a small bucket of water can freeze overnight on a bitterly cold day. So, surface water cools down to 4 degree centigrade and sinks to the bottom of the lake due to its high density, and hotter water comes up to the surface. Gradually, the whole water cools down to 4 degree centigrade. So, further cooling decreases the temperature of surface water, which finally freezes. Ice being lighter than water keeps floating on the surface. So, it acts as an insulator and slows down the cooling and freezing of the lower layers of water. This explains why aquatic animals living in water bodies of very cold regions do not die in severe winter. Now, we will talk about the pollution or contamination of water. Water pollution means contamination of water bodies due to discharge of untreated pollutant of water bodies like lakes, rivers, groundwater and oceans. It does not only affect plants and organisms living near the location of discharge, but also travels to other locations through transportation of polluted water. So, now we talk about the various sources of water pollution. Factories, industries, so there are so many sources: factories and industries, agriculture, mining, industrial. So, factories and industries which releases various toxins, untreated effluents and heavy metals and industrial solvents into natural water bodies, and agriculture also farms also releases various fertilizers and pesticides which are not utilized, which leads to eutrophication and biomagnification. Mining exposes heavy metals and sulfur which buried deep into the earth, into water bodies, sewage pipes and stormwater drains, release various pathogens, disinfectants and detergents. Air pollution also releases pollutants like sulfur dioxide, oxygen of nitrogen, which are washed down by rains. Food processing units and their waste includes fats and greases, also polluted water. So, based on their origin, source of water pollution, there are generally two categories: point source pollution and non-point source pollution. Point source pollution refers to contaminants that enters a water body from a single identifiable sources like a pipe or a ditch. Non-point source pollution refers to diffuse contamination that does not originate from a single discrete source, but it is the cumulative effects of contaminants gathered from a large area, such as leaching of fertilizers and pesticides from agricultural land. So, now we talk about utility of water. Water we know used for many purposes like growing crops, metallurgical operation, house, domestic uses. When we talk about metallurgy, to obtain metals like copper, generating electricity, watering lawns, cleaning, drinking, bathing, and recreation. So we can say water is most important essential element for our life and for all living beings, including plants and animals. Without water, plants and animal cells cannot survive or cannot function, and they ultimately die. So let us discuss about role of water for domestic use, agriculture use, industrial use, and for the generation of electricity. So first we will talk about the role of water in our domestic life. We use water for cooking food, washing utensils and clothes, and clean the floor of houses, bathing. It is also used for whitewashing. It is also treated. Water provides a good medium for extracting body waste, such as urine, stool, and perspiration. The salts and the nutrients of the food dissolve in water. Therefore, these nutrients are easily absorbed by our body. So, water helps in assimilation of many nutrients present in food. So, please recall the role of water as a universal solvent. We have previously discussed, little later, previously discussed. Now we talk about the agricultural uses. In agriculture, water is used for irrigation of crops. It helps in the germination of seeds and growth of plants. Nutrients provided by fertilizers of the soil are soluble in water, and these dissolved nutrients are easily absorbed by the plant. So, water is also required for preparation of food by plants during the process of photosynthesis. It also acts as a medium for transportation of nutrients and minerals from one part of the plant to the other. Water provides home for aquatic plants and animals. Now we move to the industrial use of water. We know water is used as coolant in automobile as well as other industries. It is also used in production of ice. It is used for the production of steam in industrial boiler and steam engine, and it is used as a solvent in many industrial processes. Water is used to prepare many chemical compounds. We can take examples. Sulfuric acid is prepared by dissolving sulfur dioxide in water, and nitric acid is prepared by dissolving nitrous oxide in water. Water is also used to prepare fuel like hydrogen gas and water gas. Use of water to generate. We use water to generate electricity, and there are many different ways to harness the energy from water, hydropower. The most common way of capturing this energy is in the form of hydroelectric power. Electricity is generated by using the water falling from a height to rotate the turbine, and water is used in thermal and nuclear power stations to produce steam for the generation of electricity. So, over the year, the ever increasing population, growth in industrialization and expanding agriculture needs have pushed up the demand for water, and on the other hand we can say water resources like groundwater and river water are fast drying up. So, wise conservation of water has become the need for our survival, and attempts are being made in many different directions like conservation of water and rainwater harvesting. So, we will talk conservation of water and rainwater harvesting before after taking a break, short break. We will come again and talk to conservation of water. Before taking a break, we are talking about water. We have discussed about water or different sources of water, different types of water, potable and non-potable water. We have talked about how can we change hard water and soft water. We have talked about various uses of water in the field of domestic use, agricultural use, industrial use. So, and we have also talked about pollution. There are various sources of pollution, and on the basis of pollutant sources, it will be point source pollution and non-point pollution. Now, we are increasing population. पॉपुलेशन की नीड्स के लिए हमें एग्रीकल्चर एक्सपेंड करना पड़ा, इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन ग्रोथ की बात की. सो ऑल दीज ओवर द इयर्स एवर इंक्रीजिंग पॉपुलेशन, growth in industrialization and expanding agricultural needs have pushed up the demand for water. And we also know water resources like groundwater and river water are fast drying up, and some sources are polluting. So wise conservation of water has become the need of our survival, and attempts are being made in many different directions like conservation of water and rainwater harvesting. So collection of water by making dams and reservoirs, creating groundwater structures like well, johad, ponds, recycling of used water and desalination of water, and recharging of groundwater has become necessary, and this is being done through rainwater harvesting. So while many people may not realize it, but a few centimeters of annual rainfall is a valuable source. So harvesting rainwater not only helps reduce the possibility of flooding, but it also decreases the community's dependence on groundwater for domestic use. Rainwater is perfectly suited for landscape irrigation, growing vegetables and flowers, used in room coolers, washing and many other applications. Being soft water, rainwater is used for washing purposes too. So while using rainwater, hardness deposits do not accumulate and there is no problem of soap scum. So harvested water may also be used for personal consumption, but it must be filtered and treated prior to use. By reducing runoff of the rainwater that falls on your house or field, you can put a valuable water resource to work around your house. So we can summarize rainwater benefits of rainwater in the form of few points. So conserve valuable groundwater, reduce local flooding and drainage problems, decrease landscaping and property maintenance needs, and provides excellent quality water for many household uses, and it can be used for domestic purposes such as for growing vegetables, flowers, trees and shrubs and seedlings in a greenhouse. So now we are going to sum up in the few points or in the form of few points what we have discussed. Next to here, we know water is the most abundant substance available to us, and natural sources of water are rain, spring, well, river and sea, and sea water is a rich source of several minerals. So there are following several properties that make water suitable in our everyday life. Ability to dissolve many things, that is to behave as a universal solvent. Leather formation, surface tension, capillarity and density of water is being 4 degrees centigrade being 1 gram per centimeter cube. So water resources in a country is managed by proper and judicious use by constructing dams, canals, reservoirs, wells and tube wells, and when water collected in dams is not only used for irrigation but also to generate electricity. So water pollution and air pollution are due to human activities, and rainwater can be conserved by recharging it to ground and or using it for various other purposes, and this is known as rainwater harvesting. So this is all about water. This is lesson number 26, Air and Water. We will come again to meet you in a new program of Science and Technology. Till then, goodbye and thank you.